Excuse me. I cannot share the screen. Someone is already sharing the screen, so.
We will share the screen after some time. Like that's the screen that's shared in the Zoom is by our admin, and I would like the admin not to share the screen so that we can share the screen and proceed on to debating.
Can you guys see it?
Yes,
Back to RMS. And wait a second. Approve resolutions. GA2. So approve resolutions. GA2. Republic of the Sudan first.
Chair, can we exit the spatial chat now? And chairs, can you also share the resolution that we're going to debate on? No, can we read the full resolution on our own?
Chair, we cannot really hear you that well.
So can I read it then?
Can you share the document so that
Head Chair, I think you need to sync your mic.
Oh, there it is. Can you guys see it
can you-
now?
yes, we can see it. Can everyone hear me?
Oh, it's very hard to understand you, HR.
Okay, so
Can I read it? Okay. So Form G2, Economic and Financial Council, question of the issue of origin, aid in, oh, I'm not supposed to read it.
okay, so the head chair will be the House will now debate the resolution on the issue of foreign aid in Tigray submitted by the delegate of Republic of Sudan, and may the main submitter of this resolution please rise and read out all operative clauses excluding all sub-clauses.
Clause 1 calls for an immediate ceasefire between all involved parties.
Clause 2 urges member states and the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs to collaborate with humanitarian organizations such as the WFP, the Red Cross, and Doctors Without Borders to open aid routes through such ways but not limited to. Clause 3 encourages all more economically developed countries to send direct aid to the civilians of Ethiopia in such ways but not limited to. Asks MEDCs to invest in creating infrastructure in the Tigray region through such ways but not limited to. Calls upon the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees and MEDCs to build and refurbish refugee and IDP camps through such ways but not limited to.
Thank you, Delegate. The chair will allot a time of 5 minutes for every delegate to read throughout the resolution, and we will meet back after 5 minutes. And I hope everyone could hear me right now.
So 5 minutes. Start.
Point of parliamentary procedure. She believes that is the head chair leading this resolution.
Whoops, sorry. My bad.
The head chair hopes that everyone is right now reading the resolution, and another quiet reminder of, can everyone hear me?
We can
Yes,
hear.
Chair, we can hear you.
the time's up. So the chair will allow 5 minutes for debate on the resolution. The chair will allow 1.5 hours for debate on the resolution. May the main submitter please give their opening remarks on the resolution.
Honorable chairs, fellow delegates, and most distinguished guests, the delegate of Sudan is appalled at the current human rights crisis in Tigray. Despite having 80% of the population dependent on foreign aid, the Ethiopian government has blocked all aid towards this region, putting the lives of many innocent civilians in the hands of starvation and disease. With ongoing conflicts between parties and constant attacking of humanitarian groups' resources by rebel groups, the transportation of aid towards the Tigray region has been hindered greatly, with hundreds of aid trucks not returning. As the period of sending aid prolongs, humanitarian groups are now running out of resources. It is estimated that there will need to be a total of $1.4 billion of funds to alleviate the crisis, which is not a sustainable number at this moment. Hence, Sudan firstly urges for humanitarian aid to be more free-flowing. This will be achieved in clauses 1 and 2, with a ceasefire and various negotiations and methods to open aid roads, both through the central Ethiopian government and from the west directly into the region. The resolution also mentions the exploration of other possible methods for the case that negotiations are not fruitful. Sudan also believes that it is paramount that the civilians of Tigray be saved from hunger and death, and thus urges MEDCs to send direct aid as well as fund infrastructure projects in Tigray. Lastly, as the crisis has brought along millions of refugees and internally displaced persons, Sudan also advocates for humanitarian measures to take place in refugee and IDP camps. The delegate recognizes that at this stage, the resolution still may need more improvements, and therefore urges the House to submit amendments. However, overall, she believes that the resolution will be an effective and feasible solution to this issue and urges the House to vote for this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Now, the floor is now open to any delegates wishing to speak for or against the resolution. Are there any in the House?
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes.
Will there not be any POIs regarding Sudan's speech?
There would not be any POI for the opening remark speech on the resolution.
Okay.
Are there any in the House wishing to speak for or against the resolution? The delegate of United States of America has been recognized.
The delegate of the United States of America would like to speak for this resolution. However, point out that operative clause 2, subclause B1 seems a little far out of reach, as the TPLF has conquered pretty much the entire Tigray region, and in that way it's nearly impossible to negotiate with them, as this is a group of rebels who are trying to fight the Ethiopian military, as Mr. Abiy, the Prime Minister, has ordered.
Thank you, Delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Yes.
The delegate has opened him for any and all points of information. Are there any delegates wishing to speak at this time? The delegate of United Kingdom has been recognized.
Thank you, delegate, for your speech. Just as a point of inquiry, are there any other possible solutions that the delegate of the United States of America would suggest instead?
The delegate of the United States would suggest that negotiating with this group of rebels, in this case supporters of the TPLF, is impossible. So instead of doing this, it would be better to either ignore this, or, as it says in the other operative clauses, to provide humanitarian aid by MEDCs, for example. So preferably to possibly take this out of the clause, as that would be more appropriate.
Thank you, Delegate. Is there any other delegate wishing to speak for or against this resolution?
Point of parliamentary procedure. The delegate of China believes that when the main speaker actually presents this resolution, she must entertain a POI without any reasons. Can the chair double check if that is in order? Because in her past conferences, the main speaker was always needed to answer the POIs.
Sorry, Delegate. This chair apologized for his problem and does main submitter is the does the main submitter open herself for any and all points of information?
Yes.
The delegate has opened herself to any and all points of information. Are there any delegates wishing to speak at this time?
Oh, you dipped it in the shot?
No, it's not that good.
The delegate of People's Republic of China has been recognized.
Thank you, delegate,
It's a good
for
one,
her
Dustin.
I
speech.
don't really care at this point for this conference.
Delegate of
Yes,
Sudan,
you
can
should
you
wanna.
mute your mic for a minute because we hear the background? Thank you, delegate. She wants to draw the attention to clause 1 and subclause A for talking about the domestic issue. First of all, isn't the Tigray issue a domestic issue? And why does UN have to mediate the problem? Because if the UN comes in, it will make the problem worse. And also in clause 2 and clause C, in clause 2 subclause C and in clause 2 subclause D, they're all both redundant because it's talking about sending the peacekeepers.
Firstly, to address the question regarding clause 1, so Delegate believes that there should be negotiations between the central Ethiopian government and the TPLF, and that was the main point of the subclause. And the addition of the mediation by the UN is due to the fact that if there is no third-party mediating force, peace conferences could not be as fruitful as when there is a mediating force, or might actually turn into something worse. And therefore, the delegate sees the importance in keeping a third-party mediating force in all peace conferences, so that there is so that the conference can be objectively recorded and be objectively carried out. And as for clause 2 subclauses C and D, the delegate does not see how this is redundant, as clause C is a subclause in a case of which that negotiations are not working very well, and that that emergency aid needs to be sent, that there could be such alternative methods to sending aid to civilians instead of having them wait for much longer. And clause D would also be to facilitate the transportation of aid. The delegate believes that the existence of UN peacekeepers does not guarantee that all aid will be successfully sent, and therefore urges that such clauses still be existent so that there could be alternative solutions or backup plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. The delegate of Republic of Turkey has been recognized to give a speech on this topic.
This delegate is for the resolution because it clearly states all the necessary measures that should be taken.
Thank you, Delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
No.
The delegate has confirmed in no form. So the floor is once again open to any delegates wishing to speak for or against the resolution. Are there any in the House? The chair highly recommends everyone to speak. So the delegate of the Republic of Turkey has been recognized.
This delegate would like to speak against this resolution. And this delegate also wishes to draw attention to operative clause 1, subclause C, which states, if no progress is made in peace talks, both parties shall be sanctioned. My apologies. This delegate would like to question how sanctions will solve the current conflict and also the current humanitarian and economic crisis that's just worsening daily in Ethiopia.
Thank you, Delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Any or no?
The delegate has opened himself to any and all points of information. Are there any delegates wishing to speak at this time? The delegate of Russia, the delegate of People's Republic of China has been recognized in that order.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Delegate, for your speech. Does the delegate agree that if the sanctions continue as they are, the situation will only worsen and worsen and cause more unnecessary deaths?
Yes, the delegate does believe so. Thank you, delegate.
This delegate's question has been answered.
Thank you, Delegate, for your speech. The delegate of United Kingdom has been recognized to give a speech on this resolution.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Chair, fellow delegates, and most esteemed guests, as presented by the delegate of the United Kingdom during his opening speech, this delegate is in favor of supporting the unfavorable humanitarian issues ongoing in the Tigray region. Thus, this delegate is a co-submitter of this resolution and would also like to urge the other member nations to vote for this resolution as well. To just give a quick summary of why this delegate of the United Kingdom would urge the other delegates to vote for this resolution, this delegate would like to draw the House's attention to clauses 2 and 3. Clause 2 focuses on the issue of the humanity, specifically two solutions implemented in each subclause, and this delegate truly believes that clause 2 is a direct solution or at least a valuable attempt to solve the issue. And meanwhile, clause 3 is more of a broad attempt of resolving the overall condition of the citizens in Ethiopia. And we are calling upon specific organizations in order to address numerous issues, specifically regarding the supply of the different necessities that people might need. The delegate does believe that there may be inconsistencies within this resolution, but would like to urge other delegates to make amendments in order to make this resolution the best that it can possibly be. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Any and all, please.
The delegate himself has opened to any and all points of information. Are there any delegates to wish to speak at this moment? The delegate of Russian Federation has been recognized.
Thank you, Delegate. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Delegate, for your speech. The delegate mentioned that they wish to make this resolution the best that it can be. Would the delegate like to mention which faults they can see in the resolution which hinder it from being the best it can be?
Thank you, Delegate, for your POI. This delegate does not see any inconsistencies yet because it is co-submitted by him, and considering the fact that it got passed, but in the case that other delegates may see inconsistencies, this delegate is open to amendments.
Thank you, Delegate. The delegate of Sudan has been recognized to speak on this resolution.
Honorable chairs, fellow delegates, and most distinguished guests. The delegate of Sudan would like to address some issues that other delegates have brought up regarding this resolution. Firstly, she will address the questions posed by the delegate of the United States of America regarding whether or not a peace talk is actually possible with the TPLF. The delegate believes that peace talks are possible, as in the past there have been peace talks made with organizations such as the Taliban. And as the delegate sees that rebel groups are also entities that have their own priorities, and that in the past there's a record of actual peace conferences happening, that it is not going to be a futile attempt, and that there might be some points that the TPLF might be wishing to bargain. And delegate believes that with these peace talks, these bargaining points can be found, and that aid routes can possibly be opened from the Western side. Regarding the issue of sanctions, delegate believes that the subclause containing it is very contingent on the progress of these peace talks. Delegate believes that if there is no progress of peace talks over a prolonged time period, this will only affect the civilians of Tigray more, as there will be no aid reaching them, as blockades from both sides will continue to happen. Therefore, by applying pressure on the government and the TPLF, this may pressure these two parties to work on their agreement more faster. And in the case of how sanctions might harm the civilians, delegate believes that not all aid has to be sent to through the government, and that aid can also be directly sent to civilians, and that these sanctions are only a last resort type of action if these peace talks do not come to an end, and therefore still urges the House to vote for this resolution and urges the House to submit amendments. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Does the delegate
Is this what president feels like?
information?
Any and all.
The delegate herself has opened to any and all points of information. Are there any delegates to wish to speak at this moment? The delegate of Somalia, the delegate of United States have been recognized in that order.
Thank you, Delegate, for your speech. In clause 3, it says that encourage all more economic developed countries to send direct aid to the civilians of Ethiopia in such ways, but not limited to. Can you give an example of any DCs that are willing to support Ethiopia in any way?
The delegate believes that USA and China have both contributed substantial amounts towards aiding Ethiopia.
The delegate of the United States of America would partially like to agree with the statements made by the delegate of Sudan. However, the delegate is wondering, what does the Taliban have to do with the situation, as the Taliban, the negotiations with the Taliban were not successful, because that is something the delegate heard mentioned.
The delegate believes that although the negotiations with the Taliban might not have been successful, delegate believes that apologies, someone next to me just okay, so returning to the POI. The delegate believes that although those negotiations were not successful, it shows that it is possible that to negotiate with a rebel group, and the delegate still urges that it is still worth a try in trying to do peace talks. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Does thank you, Delegate, for your speech. Would the delegate like to yield the floor back to the chair, or to another delegate?
Back to the chair.
That's an order. All the delegates are reminded that amendments are entertained in this committee. Delegates can start filling in amendments now. Order, please.
Can the chair specify how to submit amendments instead of suggesting them to submit it?
As the conference is online, the delegates are encouraged to fill in amendments in the chat.
Can the head chair elaborate on how the amendment can be written? Like in what, like in certain format?
Can the delegate repeat the question again?
So how are we supposed to write amendments? Like, could you give us like some examples?
Amendments are like amendments, constructive feedbacks on the resolution, and the amendment, the only purpose of amendments are to construct the resolution after it is approved by the approval panel. So it is editable resolution. So amendments are for constructing the resolution by making it stronger. So that's the main point of amendments.
Head chair, the delegate of China thinks that the delegate of Denmark did not ask that question. She thinks that how to submit an amendment by chat as an example wise instead of what an amendment is. Can the chair clarify how to submit an amendment?
The deputy chair would like to request the head chair to use the floor to answer the question.
Wait a minute. Sorry for the problem.
So do you recognize or do you yield the floor?
Sorry, Deputy Chair, can you speak it louder?
Can you please yield the floor to me so I can answer the question?
Yes,
Okay.
chair Shreyas now yields the chairing rights to Chair Virak.
Accepted. So for filing an amendment, please just chat to either the deputy chair, which is me, or to the procedural chair, and just write out the former clause, the first clause, and then just enter a new sentence and then write the new clause that you want to amend or change. Yeah, thank you very much. This chair would like to yield back the carrying rights to the head chair. Thank you.
The yield accepted.
Head chair, can the head chair please continue the debate?
Yes, the floor is now open for any delegates wishing to speak for or against the resolution. Are there any in the House? The delegate of North Korea has been recognized to give a speech on this resolution.
The delegate of North Korea wants the floor to draw attention clause clause 3, which is encourages all more economically developed countries to send direct aid to the civilians of Ethiopia in such ways, but not limited to. This delegate believes that currently it's impossible to send aid to the people who live in the area where the genocide is happening, and the delegate wants to ask to the delegate of Sudan how the delegate of Sudan will manage the way with sending the aid to the people.
Thank you, delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Any other?
The delegate has opened himself to any and all points of information. Are there any delegates wishing to speak at this time? The delegate of Sudan and Somalia and Denmark has been recognized in that order.
Thank you, Delegate, for your speech. Does the delegate of North Korea realize that the very issue of dealing with how will the aid routes be opened up is dealt with clauses 1 and 2?
This delegate believes that in clause 1 and 2, the way how to send the aid the people are currently not really realistic. An unsuccessful negotiation with the Taliban and the other people who doesn't negotiate with the international organization.
Also raise their hands. Oh, what's it? Console.
May the delegate of Somalia speak?
Yes.
Thank you, delegate of Korea, for the speech. The delegate of Somalia thinks that the blockage of humanitarian aid happening on Ethiopia is only happening on ground transportation, which means that air transportation and sea transportation is still open for humanitarian aid. So the delegate of Somalia thinks that the humanitarian aids can be still transferred through military air force or military sea force. Thank you.
The delegate will ensure that there's other route besides sending an aid from land. However, the delegate believes that currently sending aid using planes or boats are not really efficient, effective compared to sending the aid using the land, and it will cost much more money. So it will be it will be hard to send amount of money that could solve the hunger and those medical issues in that region.
This delegate would like to ask the delegate of North Korea what is his realistic approach? What are his thoughts on realistic approach for delivering food and medical supplies to Tigray if the ground and the air routes are not feasible?
This delegate believes that this delegate is also not really sure the another route that could help the people in that region. However, the delegate believes that there will be a better way to help support the people in that region.
Thank you, Delegate. Would the delegate like to yield the floor back to the chair or another delegate?
Back to the chair. Thank you.
That is an order. The chair also highly encourages everyone to fill in amendments for this resolution. The floor is now open to any delegates wishing to speak for or against the resolution. Are there any in the House? The delegate of Russian Federation has been recognized to give a speech on this resolution.
All right, thank you, Chair, for the recognition. Esteemed Chair and honorable delegates, the delegate of the Russian Federation would usually encourage the members of the House, to vote for this resolution. However, for one glaring mistake that is yet to be fixed. In clause 1, subclause C, it states that if no progress is made in the peace talks, both parties shall be sanctioned. This delegate believes that that is regressive and that doing so will only harm the situation in Ethiopia. The delegate also believes that this resolution does not provide enough economic detail on the economic and financial side of this. And since this is the Economic and Financial Council, this delegate believes that resolution should be more focused in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Is the delegate open to any and all points of information?
3 POIs.
The delegate himself has opened to 3 points of information. Are there any delegates to wish to speak at this moment? The delegate of Republic of Turkey and the delegate of Sudan and the delegate of Denmark has been recognized in that order.
Thank you, Chair. This delegate would like to agree to the point that the Russian Federation has made, and would also like to draw attention again to operative clause 2, subclause B, and subclause 1, which suggests, my apologies. I'd like to draw attention to operative clause 1, subclause A, which is holding negotiations between the central Ethiopian government and the Tigray rebel forces and mediated by the United Nations. This delegate would like to point out that in this current stage of the conflict, holding such negotiations is almost impossible, and for the United Nations or any other foreign party to step in and try to host negotiations between these two parties of the conflict might even harm and worsen the current economic and humanitarian situation in Tigray as of this moment. Thank you.
The delegate of Sudan.
Point of parliamentary inquiry. Shouldn't all POIs be in question for? And shouldn't the delegate of the Russian Federation be responding to them?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. the delegate of Russian Federation?
This delegate believes that I cannot respond to the POI as it was not phrased in the question form.
The delegate of Republic of Turkey, can you rephrase your wordings into a question?
My apologies, the audio was bad, and this delegate would like to retract his former POI.
Thank you, Delegate of Russian Federation, for your speech.
I'm asking you, I'll be done in 5 minutes.
If the delegate of Russian Federation believes that sanctions should not be placed upon the Ethiopian government, then how does the delegate of the Russian Federation propose that to convince the government and the rebel group to come to a ceasefire?
This delegate believes that if given enough time, common sense will prevail, and this delegate believes that supporting the Ethiopian government and opening pathways of communication between the Tigray rebels and the Ethiopian government will allow for peace talks to occur.
The delegate of Denmark?
Her question is answered by the question of Sudan, the delegate of Sudan.
Sorry?
Her question is answered. Her question was the same as the delegate Sudan's question.
Does the delegate of Russian Federation yield the floor back to the chair or to another delegate?
This delegate yields the floor back to the chair.
That's an order. The floor is open for any delegate wishing to speak. Are there any in the House? The delegate of United States of America has been recognized.
The delegate of the United States of America would like to point out yet again, particularly to the delegate of the Russian Federation, that it simply is not possible to negotiate with this group because they're so closely tied to rebels, and these rebels are drastically ruining the life situation for millions of people, as millions of people, as stated in the resolution, are risking their lives doing this. So if anything, this conflict will only escalate if the governments would, or if the party and the government would attempt to improve the relationship, because then the tensions would even increase, causing in more violence and possibly threatening relations with other countries around the world.
Thank you, delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
2, please.
The delegate has opened himself to 2 points of information. Are there any in the House? The delegate of Russia has been recognized.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Delegate, for your speech. However, this delegate would like to ask, why does the delegate of the United States so sternly believe that there is no way to facilitate negotiations between the two parties?
The delegate believes this because, also looking partly into history, also adding on to my previous point, is that it's very unrealistic, as if a government tries to boil down a tension, which has been evident for decades now, it's been evident since the 1980s, in fact, that resolving this isn't just an issue that you can resolve in diplomacy. It's being seen as what's happened with the Taliban, now even the war between the Russian Federation and Ukraine, in fact. So that's why.
The delegate of Somalia.
Thank you, the delegate of United States of America. However, the delegate of Somalia believes that to add on to what the delegate of Russian Federation has said, the delegate of Somalia believes that the negotiating with the country might take a long time, a month or even years to complete, which is not possible because this problem is urgent. Then this problem should be solved right now, not from years, because there are currently Tigray citizens dying from starvation and famine. So the delegate of Somalia believes that the negotiation with the Ethiopian government is impossible. Thank you.
The delegate of the United States of America does not know how to respond to this, as it is not phrased into a question.
Can the delegate of Somalia rephrase the wordings into question?
Can United States of America, the delegate of United States of America, restate the reason why the delegate think that that the delegate of Somalia would like to retreat the delegate's question. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Does the delegate like to yield the floor back to the chair or to another delegate?
Back to the chair, thank you.
Due to time constraint, and the House will call to hold the debate for until tomorrow, and yes.
May the delegates leave, or
Sorry, delegate.
may the delegates leave, or
Yes, every delegate can leave now. So the resolution and the debate is holded, and it will be resumed tomorrow. So every delegate can leave now.
all right, thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
So admin, I can also read right now, right? You're muted. Okay,
Can I leave now?
yeah.
Oh.
Bye.
Not yet?
Yes, you can leave.
Bye. See you tomorrow on 12 p.m. From 1 p.m. because I will not be able to come tomorrow from 1 to 12 p.m. From 9 to 12 p.m. Sorry.
Yes, no problem. Bye.
Bye.